So, thank you for being here. Can you tell me who you are and what you do in here?
Kenny Rubenstein. I am the General Manager, Chief Experience Officer of Rubenstein's Men's Clothing Store, and of course, owner.
What does that mean, Chief Experience Officer?
Well, it's just a title I like throwing there. I mean, to me, what's important, I mean, people are important, product's important, but what I want that customer to come here is have an experience. It's not just buying a suit or buying laundry, as we say. It's have an experience. And that's what I think, whether you work here or shop here, it should be an experience. And a good experience, of course. But,
How long have you had that title? When did you?
I gave myself that title about a year ago.
That's good. That's good. What inspired it?
Well, different things. Just books I've read and other people I admire, and seeing sometimes even customers who come in and they give me a business card and it has something interesting on it, and I thought, what is it I do here? And that is what my role really is to make sure that my employees give the experience that I expect, that my customers get the experience they expect or should have. And so that's where that came from. Some of those planning sessions where you sit there and you talk about your, what your strategy is and all that good stuff. And that's where I got it from.
Well, what is it? What is it you want someone to walk away with? What is the experience?
I want them to walk away. Well, I like to say I want them to walk away with confidence. I want them to leave here having feel like they've come seen their friends, they've come into my home. And that when they leave here, they're not wondering, what am I going to wear for that event, or how will I look to my new boss, or how my employees think of me because of the way I'm dressed. They can wake up, they can put the outfit they got on, they can have the confidence to know that they look good and that they're appropriate for what they're going to. And that's the idea.
So why do you think that matters? Why does it matter? I mean, I don't usually ask this till later, but I think this is a good segue. Why does it matter that there's a clothing store that's been around 100 years? And why does clothing matter?
Well, that's a really good question, and it comes back to that comment. First of all, distinguishing a little bit from guys and gals, men are less confident overall about clothing, or, and I say this as delicately as I can, or care less about their clothing. They're not so concerned about how they look and what they're wearing. And I think anybody can look out there and grab a random guy and most part agree with me on that part. So when they really want to look good, they're not sure what is right. And maybe they hear too many things. They see people, everybody has their own look. And in these days, actually, people are a lot more individual and like to wear things. So it can be confusing. Well, is that the right look, or is that the right look for me? And so it is important to have a store where you can go and not have to pick out the stuff yourself and does this match? Can I wear this green with this red? Or can I wear this orange and this yellow? What will that look like? Oh, it seems good to me. We're here to at least say you made a good choice and you look great in that. Or, that's a bold choice. You may be able to pull it off if you like it and you're confident. Wear it that way. And that's what's important about a store like ours. We will show you what is right, what will work. Could be a fashion, could be something that'll be a staple in your wardrobe for 20 years. But we'll tell you what it is, and we'll be honest, and we'll make sure it fits and that it all looks right. And that's what a guy needs, is the confidence to be able to come in, tell me what to wear, and then walk out and everybody says, hey, you look great.
Why? Why does that matter?
It matters because, like, everybody talks about first impressions, particularly, and you're like, you can't judge a book by its cover, but that's what human nature does. We are animals, and we've been bred that way to make an instant, is this danger, is it not? And the reality is that first impression sticks with people. Now, there's some people who maybe train themselves to try to look deeper, but first impressions are very important, and you want to have the confidence that your first impression won't turn anybody. Maybe you don't want to be the guy who everybody pays attention to and it's going to earn you your job. No. But you don't want it to be a look that somebody says, this guy isn't right for me, and doesn't really take the time to find out who you are.
So is it important that Rubenstein's has been doing that for 100 years?
I think it's very important. That's the key. Us being here 100 years, we have the expertise. And I'm not saying there aren't people out there who've been doing it for less that don't know as much, but you can have the confidence that our staff is trained, they have the knowledge, we've imparted that knowledge down over decades, over a century, to the next person so that they know how to do it. They'll fit it right, they know what looks right. And the fact that we've been over 100 years means we've changed through many different generations and looks. So we're not selling you the same look that your grandfather wore. We're selling you a new look. And we know what that new look is. You know, we learn, we pay attention with your magazines, we talk to the specialists and the experts, and that's what the 100 years gives us, that experience, not just in how to sell you a garment and how it fits, but what is right at the time that you're in.
So, if I'm a new salesman, I'm a new hire to be a salesman. What is it you looked for when you hired me, and what is it that you want to teach me?
Well, I'll teach you everything. What I'm looking for when I hire you is somebody who's enthusiastic, likes people.
Enthusiastic about clothes?
Just
or-
enthusiastic, just as enthusiasm to learn, to talk with people, to learn about people. That's really the most important thing. And because I can teach you how to do mostly everything else. I'm going to teach you what a product's about, why it's made, how it fits, things like that, how to start a sale and end a sale. But you've got to be willing to learn and change. There's some people who like the way they are and want to do things this way, the way I've always done it. Well, that's not going to work here because you have to adapt. You have to be ready for new things. So that's really the most important thing to me. You've got to be interested and energetic and ready to learn. Other than that, it would be nice if you really like clothes. That's a good feature because you have to understand why a person would want what we have versus what you can get at some other places. It is all laundry. It all goes in the same washing machine, but some of it lasts longer and some of it looks different. So you got to appreciate those differences and like those type of looks. One of the questions I always ask is, what magazines do you read? I like to hear that you've read Esquire. I don't care which one it is. It could be I forgot, like Sporting News, and
Men's Health.
It could be the swimsuit issue. But as long as it has some kind of bearing on fashion and what's happening, because that's important to know what's coming and where trends are moving. So that's always a plus. That's really the only two things, and that you're telling me the truth.
Well, that matters too.
Yeah.
That matters too. And then once they get here and you teach them, what is unique about the way Rubenstein teaches people to sell?
Well, we have a training program actually called the 7 Unknowns. And essentially, what I always find interesting, especially if I hire someone who's been in sales before, even if it's only been a couple of years, it's stuff they already know, they just don't understand it. They don't understand what they were doing to make their sale work. And it's essentially, these are 7 things that you don't know that the customer needs. And I'm not talking about what event he's going to or something. I'm talking about like the type of merchandise he wants, what size he is.
That you don't know that the customer
That you don't know
knows.
that the customer may know or may not even know, but you need to find out to complete the sale. If you get all 7 unknowns, you've
What
made
are
a
they?
sale.
What are the 7 unknowns?
Type, size, price, color, model, fabric, fit. And if you get those 7 things, and that's what works here in our industry. There are unknowns. They may be 5 in the card industry. In the stationery business, could be 8. I don't know those businesses, but every sales job has unknowns that need to be discovered, and we just lay it out for you. And then we help you understand how to greet the customer, because the reality is nobody likes a salesman. I say that movies and other things have got that used car salesman or that salesman approach. Because what does a salesman want but your money? But the reality is, well, sure, we're not a nonprofit. We are a for-profit company, but we want you to be happy. Anybody can make one sale. That's my grandfather used to tell me. Anybody can make one sale. It's making the sales to the same customer number of times. That's what we're about. We're here to serve you, and I don't want you to walk out of the store and be like, I got ripped off. I don't like this. I hate. No, we want you to get what you paid for. You get the value, and if you don't, we're gonna make it right.
So, do you know where the 7 unknowns came from?
Yeah, that was actually my uncle organized those and created that training program, and he did it for years, and then he taught me, and I've been training it, and I hope I will pass that on soon to a new generation to teach. But,
Um,
one other thing too is, I mean, part of the sales training is not just the seven unknowns, but it's a team training atmosphere here, in the sense that everyone's willing to help everyone else learn things, and you've got questions. You go to the top salesman, go to the third best salesman, and they'll tell you this is what this product's about, or this is how it is, and they're there to support each other, because that's how it works best. One salesman can't make a business. We need everybody working together.
do you remember when you first came to the store?
I do. I mean, there's two instances of first coming. When I was a kid and I had to come work, there's that. And I remember that, bits and pieces. I remember coming in. I remember being, I was cute, and everybody, talked to me. And I'd pretend to sell. I'd help in the stock room, and everybody was very accommodating to me. And I just loved all the parts of it and learning each and that. Then there's when I came back after college and after working for Neiman Marcus and Dillard's and things like that, and other retailers, and then coming back here. I remember that very clearly, because I remember.
How did you feel that first day as an adult coming back?
Oh, as an adult, as an adult starting, I was insanely nervous. I mean, I was more nervous than when I went to work for Neiman Marcus and Dillard's, because I felt there was this legacy there, and here I was committed to this now, and it's a lot. I mean, at the time we were 70 years old or so, and I was like 70 years of this business, and now I have to take it over. And I am the third generation, and the reality is there's many stories out there about the third generation and the end of companies in the third generation. Maybe I got emails from my father at times, with other stores, third generations, and they're closing, like Sakowitz and some other place like that. So it was prevalent in my mind, and here I had to take this over and run the company for, at least up to 100 years and further. So yeah, I was very nervous. I was also nervous because I was coming into a store where there were people who've been here longer. Oh,
This is very loud.
I'm surprised that's the first one.
Well, these are noise dampening mics, so
Yeah.
but that's a little much.
Yeah. And wait till the
We'll wait
motorcycle.
till the light changes.
Wait till the motorcycles and four-wheelers come flying by.
Well, that it's really good with, because that's like a.
Oh no.
Oh,
They're wheeling and they're gunning it, and it's really loud. Must be somebody on the other side of the street. I can't
yeah, in
tell
their
which
car.
car it's coming from. I don't see any car that
I
looks
was
like
like,
it.
you usually can tell which car comes.
Exactly.
Last time it was a green with the special rims.
Yeah. No idea.
Come on, man.
But I bet that guy can't hear the siren, which is coming from the other direction. Okay, light's about to change. Open the window. Hey man, we're trying to do an interview.
Right. Can't be the truck.
No, it's already gone. Oh, there's that.
Okay, all right.
Now we get the sirens. It must be, maybe it's the Falcons, I don't know.
So, you were saying, like you were very nervous and.
It was very interesting. Well, part of it also was, I was coming into a store here as a young guy, and I was a family member, and, there was the concern of, these people, there have been people that have been working there for, a lot longer than I was alive. And I was going to come in and, had to start working in this environment. Will they take me seriously? Can I do the job the way they do it? Because these are people I'd known since I was a kid, and I admired them, and those kind of things. Would I earn that respect?
Did you start, what did you start as?
Started as a salesman, assistant manager, essentially, out at the kind of started here, but basically I went out to the Plaza and worked there initially, a manager, and then the Lakeside store, and helped manage there until I eventually came back down here to take over a jean shop, We had to do the buying for the jean shop and stuff like that. So, and manage the jean shops. So, Mr. Varisco left. Michelle. So yeah, and so then I slowly moved up from there. But I'd had the experience in buying at Neiman Marcus and management at Dillard's, and so I think people had known me growing up as a kid, so I think I did have more respect than I thought I would when I came in.
Did you encounter any challenging situations where you had to correct something from a colleague who
Yeah.
knew you as a child?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, that was probably one of the more challenging things, is to tell a guy who's been doing something for 30 years that I didn't think he was doing it right, or that there's a better way to do it, or here's a way to improve. When I sit down to a sales coach, and they'd be like, well, how long have you been selling? But for the most part, I had enough respect that they knew that I was not coming at them and telling them they were wrong, just suggesting. And that was one of the most important things, learning these are suggestions. These are things I have done or would do in this situation and might help you. And look, if they don't do it my way and they make the sales goal they want, I got no problem with it. So it's just trying to help them improve. So yeah, it was the more where you had to actually, I'd say, discipline, probably a better word, somebody. That did get challenging, and there were times where that's a learning lesson as a young guy, and where I probably did not handle, well, I shouldn't even say probably, I didn't handle it well. I remember my famous line actually of saying, because I'm the manager and I tell you to, and it's, it wasn't right. I was young, but I was getting argued with, and they were not listening to me, and I got frustrated, and I learned quickly that it didn't solve any problems.
How did you learn that?
Because he still didn't do it, and then I had to deal with somebody who just wouldn't listen to me in anything, even things that were obvious, like, put a lid on that coffee cup, burn your hand, and they burn your hand because they just wanted to not listen to me.
That was a permanent problem.
That's right. So, but I mean, that was resolved as we go, and it was actually, that was not with somebody who was particularly that much older than me, but they had been working here a lot longer.
You say your famous line. How did you come to hear that you had a famous line?
That's right. Well, it's actually famous in my head, although, because it's not, most of the people who had experienced that are not here anymore. Some working other places. Mr. Mark Rodriguez would remember it. Yeah, so it's mostly in my head. I mean, it's one of those things that still stick in my head. As a manager, that's not the way to handle it. If you can't explain it and convince them your way is right, then you're doing something wrong in your explanation. You got to reapproach it. Exactly. You can't sell it. So.
Did you feel you had mentors when you got here? Aside, you can talk about the ones who are related to you if you want, but
yeah.
But them and or maybe anyone else.
Yeah. Well, certainly. Obviously, my father and my uncle were here, and they've been doing this a long time, so they were natural mentors and people to give me advice and to ask when I had problems. But other than that, I mean, there was definitely Tom Garner, who I worked closely with when I first got here. Tom Garner, I watched him deal with people and how he handled issues, and if I had a real problem, I knew I could go talk to him, and he had suggestions on how to try a different approach. So Tom Garner was definitely a good mentor, and even Mary Beth, who worked for us for a long time, she was great and helped me learn things in the jean shop and other areas that of how to deal with some of these younger guys who knew everything and didn't want to hear from me. And then even sales-wise, I mean, looking at the sales floor, I mean, from Mark Rodriguez and Abe Rubenstein, no relation, but he might as well have been my uncle. I did call him Uncle Abe. And Harry Sita, I remember Harry Sita, Joe Pinto, and people like that. I mean, and even, I say newer people, Rod Hunley, who's worked here for a long time for us, he was always great, source of information and, wisdom of the ages. Don't put that in there. But yeah, as far as mentors goes, I mean, I bring up Tom Landry, working in the stockroom, and James has been here forever. I mean, just listening to James about how others handle things. And a lot of times he was telling me things the way they weren't done right. But that was you learn that too. Learn what didn't work, and you can adapt from there. So, yeah, there was, I mean, lots of people. That was one of the good things. That was very well supported. As I mentioned earlier, I was nervous about coming in thinking, don't have the respect and stuff like that, but everybody was willing to help me along, and that was important.
When do you think you started to feel confident in the space?
That's a good question. I'd say it really wasn't. It took 10 to 15 years to get to that point when I was here at the store and I was buying and I was going on trips and managing more, just about being the general manager. I mean, really in charge of everything. And I got more of that confidence that I was doing things right and things were working. When I guess it's just having been given that control. I said, well, they'll let me do it. I must know what I'm doing.
Did you have a different feeling buying for All American Jeans and Rubenstein's? And can you talk a little about the difference between the two spaces?
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a story there. I mean, my twin brother and I, we grew up. People would refer to him as Rubenstein's and me as All American Jeans because I was a little less dressed at the time when I was younger. Maybe not tucked in, my shoelaces were untied, whatever it was. So it was a reference, which was the same idea. I mean, our All American Jeans stores was a casual. It was jeans. It was, your real casual life. And Rubenstein's was all about suits and sport coats and your dress clothes. Even though there was sportswear there and stuff, we've always been a clothing store. Suits, sport coats, and that kind of thing. Ties, dress shirts. But so running the two was different. First of all, managing and experience in the jean shop was mostly young people, and they were having fun, and they were, it was not necessarily a serious career for them. Whereas Rubenstein's salespeople, the staff there, they were planning to work for, as shown. I mean, our average tenure here at Rubenstein's is 15 years, I think, is the average. So, so in the jean shop, the average probably was 4, maybe. Maybe that's the top. I don't remember. But so it was a little bit different. It was flowing. There was a lot more training, constant turn over there, and constantly teaching. This is the way we need to be. But it was also, I say, in some essence, a lot more fun. It also was men and women, and I'm not going to go into the difference of those. But
selling or customers?
Customers and the selling, not so much. It was the customers. Yeah, the difference between men and women customers. There is a difference. And I saw a male.
Did you find that difference invigorating or challenging?
It was challenging. It was much. Just to be straightforward, selling women is much more challenging. I said earlier, men tend to be more, what do I wear? And as long as somebody compliments them, they're good. Where women know what they want. Generally speaking, will know what they want and very specifically know what they want. And you can try on 14, 15 pair of jeans and it won't be exactly what they want.
It's true.
That's right.
Did you start working here before Mark? Or
No,
did
actually.
You start working here first?
My brother started working here first. He had come back about, I think it was about 2 years before I did. And was working here, but he was working more on the office side of things, technology and the computers and things like that. When I came in, I went more into the management and selling side. So, but yeah, he was here for 2 years before me, and was here about. He worked for. Actually, I'm not even sure. I guess he worked for 10 or 15 years before he left.
So what was it that made you want to? Because you had to move to work here as well. You didn't
Right.
just. What made you feel that this was important to be here and not where you were before?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I gotten married. I felt I was at a very new stage in my life. I'd gotten some experience I was interested in outside of the business. Felt I had an understanding of the business that wasn't just funneled through Rubenstein's. And it felt like the right time. We were going to start. I knew we were going to start a family and things like that. And I love New Orleans and I miss the food. And so it was like, if we're going to start a family, I'd like to start it in New Orleans. That's where I'd like to be. As opposed to having kids and then trying to move and find new schools and whatever. All I think, if we're going to start a family, let's start in New Orleans. So that was all part of the decision.
Yeah.
And there was the availability, the opening. at the store too. So things, I wasn't going to have to be forced in or let somebody go, whatever.
There was an opening for store assistant manager?
Right, for a position for someone, there was a spot for me to come in and fill, so that worked out.
So, do you think Rubenstein's is distinctive in the city of New Orleans?
Yes, I think it's very distinctive. I mean, not just from its location, which is key. I mean, corner St. Charles and Canal, there is not another location in the city like that. There are other good locations, other good places, but this is like, as the DDD says, the downtown's the pearl. I mean, downtown's the pearl. This is the center of the pearl right here. So the location is key, and then just the experience. I mean, this is just being 100 years makes it very different. But the buildings are historic. We're in buildings that are 160 to 260 years old. Our product is unique to the city. What we do, we curate an important collection. There's stuff that other stores have, but there's things that you won't find in other places. My favorite thing to hear when a customer walks in is that, oh, I've never seen anything like this where I'm from. I can't get this back home. And I mean, we're talking about people from, some small Midwest town, people from even New York and Chicago and other places who say, I haven't seen this before. That makes me feel good.
And is New Orleans important to what Rubenstein's is, and is Rubenstein's important to what New Orleans is? Do they share any?
That's a good question. I mean, there's been conversations about, look, Katrina came. Do we want to continue here? Do we want to move somewhere? Other locations and things like that. I certainly think what we do can work in other places. But we are very unique in New Orleans, especially being down here where we have a lot of the visitors and tourists come in. So even our merchandise mix, I mean, we do a small part of our mix that caters directly towards the tourist. That would be the kind of thing they would be interested in, has a little more wow, especially in New Orleans, Jazz Fest. I mean, we're packed. People want a colorful outfit. And we'll have that color, and we'll have that look. So our merchandise mix is certainly affected by the fact that we're in New Orleans. Certainly our fits and sizes are, because we need some fuller fits. Can't go with all trim fit in this city, and we have to make sure it's comfortable. What we call American comfort, as opposed to European comfort. I mean, like David's story about Xenia, when we brought Xenia in here, their initial thing was very European.
Can you flip your?
Yeah. Initially when we got Xenia, when David brought it in, it was more European, and he said that's not going to work for the American public, and we had them tailor it and create a new model that would work correctly for the United States citizen, and particularly Louisiana, New Orleans. But yeah, I think we are very important to the city. I mean, we are a historic city. We're a city of multiple cultures and multiple different likes, and everybody. It is very important in New Orleans to be who you are, and you can come here and you can be whatever you want, and we can cater to helping you look that part that you would like, and it shows again in our merchandise mix. It's a little eclectic at times, because we never know who's going to come in and what they need, and we have parties and dress clothes versus other parts of the country. I mean, we still have a great suit and dressy sport coat business, and certainly tuxedo business. There's some men's stores I know, that barely do tuxedos. And we're between November and March, we will sell a lot of tuxedos. And then you go back in the summer and you got zoo to do, and you got to wear a tuxedo in the middle of summer. So outside. So we are very much a part of New Orleans, and I think New Orleans is a part of us.
Do you see that? Do you feel supported by the city of New Orleans?
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, we have we have songs we're made up about Rubenstein's. We've had little documentaries. There was a big documentary of Bally, and we were high profile in that. There's as I said, there's rap songs and other songs that mention us directly. We're referenced in a lot of culture of New Orleans. Going down to Rubenstein's, you get your outfit and you go. So and then there's just the whole Mardi Gras in the corner of where everything happens. You look at pictures of Mardi Gras. There are lots of them. I mean, I don't want to say the majority are shot on the corner here and include our sign in our balcony. So we are iconic. We're so iconic that we have trouble getting our sign fixed because we can't take it down because nobody wants it missing.
That's great. Does it need fixing?
I can't say this on the recording, so.
Okay.
But can't go further on the recording. But
you plead the fifth, do you?
yeah, but, it doesn't rotate. That was a story when the guy came running the street. I think your building's on fire. I'm like, what? No, it's not. Yeah, oh, there's a fire. I'm like, so we got out, and there was just smoke pouring out that revolving sign. The motor just burned out. Little tiny flame, but it wasn't bad. Just turn the power off.
Fortunately, it's a brick building. So.
Yeah, exactly. So we're good.
Can you talk about working with family and what you think that brings, or what you think that means in a retail establishment?
Working for family is a pain. Working for family is wonderful. It is a mix of everything, and it's challenging. It's not for everybody. I mean, it can be difficult. The hardest thing about working for family is separating family and business. You know, I like to think that I'm not working for family. I'm working at Rubenstein's in this business. I have family that work here. When I first started here, it was important that I refer to my father, for example, as Mr. Andre when I was talking business. That's what all the employees called him. He was Mr. Andre, and I called him Mr. Andre. If I had something personal to talk about, I would say Dad. But I would not use the word Dad in talking business at all, because that would imply that this is a business, whatever I'm saying. And the response I would get from my father, whether I was in trouble or not, would be from my boss, not from my father. That wouldn't stop the fact that I'd go home and have dinner and he'd start complaining about it and let me know I messed up again, but which is the painful side of working family. Never stop talking business, so if you messed up, you'll continue to hear about it.
I sometimes tell people the problem with working with family is that when you go home for Thanksgiving to complain about your boss, he's sitting at the head of the table.
Exactly. That is it exactly. You can't complain about the boss because he's hearing it. He's right there.
That's right.
But yeah, it's no. I mean, it's great to have your family around you all the time. So that is a definite blessing.
I've heard a lot from people about the distinction at Rubenstein's of treating the customers as family, and that the important things are the relations. Do you think that is influenced by or influences the family nature of the business?
Well, that's probably I think that the family nature of our business is what influences how we do our business. I mean, I mentioned earlier, but with people coming in the store, I want them to feel like not just part of the family, which sounds kind of trite, but coming into our home. I mean, this is our place. We have many customers who will come in, stop in 2 or 3 times a week, just to chat. They don't even shop.
What do you do to make it feel like that? What do you think are some of the important things?
Well, the key is there's small things like not always calling a customer because you have something for them. Sometimes just calling them and saying, hey, how was Christmas? Or you see something in the newspaper and their daughter got a promotion. You call and you say, hey, saw your daughter get a promotion, congratulations, and things like that. So being part of that life, even, taking them out to lunch, buying them a gift, giving them things every once in a while. It's the same thing you would do if it's your brother or sister or your mother or father or your cousin. You say, something happened, they talk. I think of my brother when I was traveling and he saw I was at a brewery and the bartender comes up and gives me a beer and said, your brother brought you another one. And he was 1,000 miles away, So, it's things like that. It's the unexpected. It's doing things because you care. And that's what develops a relationship. And the relationship, customers and salespeople, or I should say employees, employees is the key. You got to build that relationship. You're not just working for me, I'm handing you a paycheck. I want to know about you. I want to know what you do. I want to meet your family. I want to know your kids. You don't have to invite me to their birthday parties, but I want to be able to know that it's their birthday. So that's important, and that's what builds it. And that's how it works with our customers. As I said, we have customers who come in just to sit and chat. Sometimes they're not spending time. because we want to know what's going on with them, and they want to know what's happening in our family and our business. So it's how you treat your friends. That's what it's about. It's building friendship. I mean, that's what selling is anyway. Selling is about building. I always liken selling to I say dating. You know, when I'm training, it's part of.
Do you remember dating?
It's part of our training program. I mean, when you're out, let's say you're in college and you want to meet that girl over there, and you see your friend talking to her.
Okay,
And you meet, you want to meet the girl, and you see your friend talking to him. What do? You go up to your friend and say, "Would you introduce me?" Because that's safe. He knows her. She's going to assume he's not going to set her up with a mass murderer. So you at least have your opening at start. And that's the same thing in building a relationship here. You get the common ground. You learn what it is that interests them. What do you have in common? And you have the conversation. So that's what it's about.
So I know that there's a hope that Rubenstein's continues for another 50, 100 years, because of course it's how, for one reason, because it's how people make their living here.
Right.
Is there any other reason? Is there some value that Rubenstein's has that you think is important?
I mean, there is a legacy value that's there, but I think there's a value to the city and the people of the city in that we're here, we can continue to provide what you need, that confidence and the look. We will continue to evolve and change so that we can meet those needs and, whatever they are, whether it's, no, I don't think it'll ever get to where nobody's wearing clothing. So they'll always wearing some kind of clothing, and we'll be there to adapt and have what it is you need. Maybe nobody will ever wear suits again, I don't know, in 10 years, but we'll be there. We'll have what it is that you wear instead.
Do you have any examples of times when Rubenstein's has changed or adapted successfully?
Yeah, well, I
Your
mean,
experience?
there's
Yeah.
several. I mean, I do remember when we went, there's pleated pants and there was flat front pants. So we basically had an inventory about 80% pleat and about 20% we had flat front. It was new and we were introducing it, and we've been doing it for a year or so, and we decided we're not going to buy any more pleated pants. We went from 20% flat front to 100% flat front. And we said, this is the way it should be, and it's going to be, and that's the trend we see. And sure enough, yeah, there was some resistance, but I can't tell you how many wives called me up and said, "Oh my God, my husband looks so much better." So we switched that, and we've been doing that for a long time. Slim suit, we introduced a more slimming, look, and we pushed that trend so that it's away from the bigger shoulder and a boxier square fit to a nice trimmer fit, not a tight. I mean, if you want to get a nice tight fit, we can get you, but it doesn't need to be stretch pants. It can be just a slimming, cleaner look, so you don't look like you're wearing a size too big suit. And we moved into that, and now most of our inventory is some sort of trim. I mean, it may not be a trim fit, but it's a lot smaller fit than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Is it difficult? You have customers who've been with you for 30, 40 years. I've talked to some of them. Is it challenging? How do you move a customer from a look that they developed when they were young and that they liked and they are comfortable with to a new look?
Well, part of that is the relationship. I mean, if they've been with us for a long time, we generally can move them. We can point out why. And, usually it's somebody being aware. I mean, my favorite thing, when we came into the pleats and, we were doing trimmer flat front pants, and I would say, well, look at the guys out there and see what you see. And you're going to notice that most of them are wearing a pant that doesn't have pleats, and it's a trimmer look. It looks cleaner. And you're going to be wearing this with a 20-inch bottom, and you're going to stand out. And they would go out and they look and they'd see that. And that's what it's about. It's about introducing it. They trust us, and we're not going to put them in something that looks bad. I hear all the time, "Oh, this isn't a look for a 60-year-old." I'm like, it has nothing to do with your age. We make you look. I'm not going to make you look like an 18-year-old. I'm going to make you look like a cool 60-year-old. So that's what it's about. It's about that relationship and the trust that you build with the customer, and you walk them through it. Sometimes it does take a little time, and there are some who don't. That's why we do custom. So if you're really, really dead set on it, we'll make it for you.
You say that, and all I can think of are the 80s suits. Like, that's
Yeah.
all I can think of.
Yeah. Our problem is usually just pants that are just way too big.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally had a guy the other day, he came in and he had a 20-inch bottom. And just to give a comparison, our pants run from 15 to maybe 17. Most of them are 16 and a half. I don't think I have any 17 left in stock. And his pants were 20 inches around in circumference at the bottom.
Sounds like a woman's flair, man.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, it was a straight leg. That's the sad part. It was a big column of pant. And I took a while to explain to him that it would look so much better if it was a little cleaner.
What
And
about-
by the way, he now comes in and he loves the way his pants look. He gets compliments on them all the time. People comment on it. That's all it takes.
What about, can you talk about some of the risks that you've taken that haven't worked? And why they're important?
Yeah, well, we usually it's in the form of a fit or something. Like we have tried some that are more tapered, some pants that had a shorter rise and were really trimming the leg, and we had trouble selling those. They just weren't as comfortable, and you get that. But you see things trimming up, and you're like, let me try this, and you find out it doesn't work, and you move on. Unless you commit, half of your inventory to something. Similar to the pleat to non-pleat, which wasn't as big a risk because it wasn't like I was changing the fit completely. It was just the look was changing a little bit. But there are things you test it out, you try a little bit. And as I said, we had been doing the flat front for a year or so, and we knew it was working. So it wasn't like we just said one day, oh, we're going to take everything and switch. So you try things out. You give it a year. I have a rule season-wise, and it goes for whether it's changing some look and a fit to just a brand you try. You got to give it 3 seasons. You see what it does. 3 seasons. After 3 seasons, you'll know whether it's going to work or not, because sometimes you can have one bad season. So you don't want to count. And if it's new, it may take a extra season to get it going. So give it 3 seasons. If it's not working, then you can move on, or you adapt it, or you change it, and try something new.
So when you go out of New Orleans on buying trips, what's your sense of the Rubenstein's reputation elsewhere?
The Rubenstein reputation elsewhere is fantastic. It's a point of pride. I'm always amazed. I always talk when my uncle comes to a market. I can forget about him following us. We just keep going because he will have to, every booth somebody steps out and says, oh, Mr. David, I want you to see this. Mr. David, can you? And we just keep walking and he catches up, calls us on the phone, where you at? And so, and when he's not there, it wouldn't be an exaggeration every 30 minutes someone says, oh, how's your uncle? Where's your uncle? Did he come up? And they want to know where he is. But just, there's also the idea that you get stopped and you're asked, vendors say, I just want you to see this line. Tell me what you think about it.
Why are they asking you that?
Because they respect the opinion and our customer and who we sell and what they like. So they know that if I can look at it and say, well, that's great, that's too bold for, this kind of customer, or that'd be great. Can you trim that rise up, or can you, make the pant narrower, or bring the shoulder in, and it's important. And I know that I'm not the only one they ask. There's other retailers out there that have that same reputation. It's just neat to be an expert in that area, and to be asked.
Nominated.
It's an honor to be nominated, yeah. And that's what's nice. It really is at market. And the fact that you get calls from lots of, one of the things I always say, when we talk about relationships, I've mentioned salespeople, our employees, I've mentioned customers, but our vendors' relationships are also very, very important. I get somebody who maybe had spent years selling me this X line, and they leave that line, they go to a new line, and they call me for appointment. It may not be something, I may know the line already, it may not be something that I think is going to work for us, but I will go visit. It is important because that guy got this job and said, these are the stores, and I have contacts with them, and I can bring these people in. And so I go in to look at it. And, I don't pretend I'm going to buy it necessarily. I look at it and say, this isn't going to be right for us. Thank you for introducing to me and showing me. But it's important. Number one, you give them the feedback that they might need. You validate their value to their company. And who knows, in the future, they're going to be at a line that you really want. And it may be important. That may be the tipping point on the scale that you are the guy they like. So they'd rather sell to you than the other person. So So it's important, build those relationships with vendors and earn that respect out there. Always tell them the truth, never lie. You can't buy, you just say, it's not going to work for me. And that's part of our reputation out there in the market. They know we're going to tell them the truth, and we're going to be honest with them, and and of course we have an incredible credit rating, so they know they'll get paid.
That's not a given in retail.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, and that's part of what your 100 years gets you too. I mean, I've been with vendors and new stores coming in, and they're trying to buy a line, they want to buy, and they're like cash up front or cash on delivery, things like that. We get dating and things like that because people know. I mean, we have always paid. That's one of the things that was on the top of our priority list. Always pay our vendors on time, and we always have.
Are there stories that you tell people to help them understand what Rubenstein's is?
Yeah, I mean, and there they are. Oh, it's just one. That's good. Usually it's a
Probably
phalanx.
worth it, right?
Yeah. So see,
Okay.
see what I mean?
Yep. Seriously, go.
Is he stopped at the light? Is that
Must
what it is?
be,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
that.
Pocket rocket there.
Yeah. So, well, we'll see what we can get in.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah, stories that represent the store. Tell people.
Or just that you want to be sure on camera, either one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's your usual what we call customer service stories of things we've done. I mean, we will get. I hear it from customers all the time. People who will tell me stories about how. Wow, that is loud.
Yeah, I mean, he's down the street
Yeah.
now.
Customers will tell me stories about how they're from Cuba. They came in here and they had no clothes and they had to go apply to be a doctor and they didn't have any money. And my grandfather said, "Don't worry about it. We'll fit you up in the suit. You take it, and when you can pay us, you pay us." To stories about the guy who needed a tuxedo for inauguration. He got invited to a governor's inauguration, had nothing to wear, and we got it done in a day. A lot of visitors. We had a guy getting married whose tuxedo, the pant didn't show up. And so he needed a whole tuxedo in 4 hours. And we got tuxedo fixed and ready and went down there and even tied all his groomsmen bow ties for him. So,
Was that when Mr. Mack was here? Did you have to make Mr. Mack?
no, it was on when Mr. Mack would have sewn me into something. And,
Yes.
just bringing it up, but yeah, no, it's stories. Let's see, I'm trying to think of some other stories.
So,
but,
I'm going to say this, even though I'm not, but I've always carried with me Dad's maxim that he may not always say it, but he said it enough to me and it's what I remember,
Yeah.
which is every problem is an opportunity to make a customer for life, right? You can't look at it as, oh, you can't get involved in, I made this
Yeah.
mistake, this is a terrible thing. Instead, you have to say, great, now it's all about how I fix it and how I show that I understand the issue and I'll make it right.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back. Can you think of times when you all have,
Well,
you think of things that evidence that?
yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the things in training, and I talk to my sales all the time. I mean, just a simple return. I mean, I say, you understand, a return, I mean, although it's a return to you, as a salesman, we don't like returns. But the reality is, you have somebody who has something that's of no value to them. There's an issue. All you need to do is solve that. I mean, you have to smile when you see a return. Here's a great opportunity, especially if it's somebody who got a gift and has never been in the store. Opportunity to create a new customer and to start that. Same reason we'll donate things and things like that. I mean, besides helping the community, obviously, but here's a customer. You got somebody an opportunity to get them in the store because we're not about telemarketing and selling on the phone. In fact, that's also the training thing that I tell all the time. The purpose of a phone call to a customer is not to sell them something. It's to get them to come in the store. If we get them in the store, we'll sell them something. We're great salespeople. We have what they need and we'll take care of it. So that is the goal. And so there's always an opportunity with any problem, whether you've messed up somebody's alteration or they are, they have to go to they just flew in and the airline lost their luggage. Look at that opportunity. And by the way, that's a very common thing. I think some customers have accused us of collaborating with the airlines, but but yeah, we've even trained
I noticed
taxi.
you didn't deny it, you just mentioned it.
We've even trained taxi drivers. You know, if the guy's, oh, I lost my luggage, bring him here. We'll take care of it. But you know, that's what it's about. The customer has a problem, and here's an opportunity for us to make it right and to do it. Sometimes it may cost us, but that's okay. It's about building, as I said earlier, it's about building future sales. I'm trying to build a customer. I'm not trying to sell you one time. So we do that all the time. Again, airlines, the guy's got the meeting, he's going to be speaking in front of a crowd tomorrow and he doesn't have a suit to wear, or he's missing his shirt, or his wife forgot to pack, and whatever it was. So, and customer comes in, we get it done, we'll take care of it, you know, and that's the critical part. Even if it comes down to, I mean, I can't tell you how many customers, I was on a plane and I mentioned, and this is a plane from Europe, I was flying back and talking to a customer, or I'm sorry, talking to a passenger about New Orleans. And oh, you're from New Orleans? I love it. There's a store there called Rubenstein's that I really like. He said, do you know they'll serve you alcohol while you're shopping? And I laughed. I, of course, told him who I was, and I appreciate the comment. But it's things like that. I mean, you come in here, you can relax, you can take it easy. We'll serve you a drink. You take it easy and have and find what you need. You know, we're not into high pressure here. Once you come in, relax, take it easy. So.
When you think about the people who've worked here, are there people you want to be sure to mention, or whose personalities you think have brought something to the store?
That pretty much everybody that worked here is a personality. Maybe it's part of being salesman, but even the non-salespeople. I mean, you know, I mean, your Tom Garners, who went on to do fantastic things in this industry, but you know, being there always with a joke. More to the point, Paul Varisco with a dirty joke, and then you have, I mean, Tom Landry, who was a Mardi Gras Indian chief, you know, and would tell great stories, and was always very important that he did his job correctly and that things were right. To Reggie Maharis, who you know, who always had a nice quip for you and made sure that you weren't feeling too confident or too big in the britches. You know, your head wasn't getting too big. To Mark Ardrig, who really understood how to sell and product and could teach it. To even, you know, Keith Lemonnier, who I argued with many times, but who was just charming and great with customers. You can watch him. And Philip Langley, who was, I could talk about soccer, and he was, I mean, it was great to watch with customers, and you know, knew the fashion, knew how to push the guy forward. To Joe Pinto, and you know, him being able to sell. My favorite thing about Joe Pinto is the time customer came in for a sock, and he ended up buying a suit and a shirt and a tie and everything, and he would tell the story all the time, the customer, that I came in to buy a sock and ended up walking out with a suit and shirt and tie to match. And that was Joe Pinto. He never gave up. He always sold everything that was there. He was a complete salesman. And to, of course, Abe Rubenstein, who everybody thought was related, and he might as well have been, who showed me the importance of keeping in contact with customers. The man sent a postcard to everybody in his book every month. He wrote a postcard. I remember customers coming in saying, oh, Abe, I get a postcard every month. I take the old one off the refrigerator and I put the new one up there. All right, and you know, that's great. And he made candy, which of course make me happy anytime. And then to, you know, these new young guys, now that I'm, you know, getting a little older, with these young guys that come in here, you know, from Kelly and Roberto doing buying and selling, who, you know, Roberto keeps pressure on me constantly, making sure I don't make the slightest mistake. But he also has the talent and the eye for finding merchandise. Kelly, who, you know, is so good with numbers and finding the right merchandise in the right quantity of merchandise, and, you know, keeping it balanced, and you know, working as a team. It's a perfect buying team. And to Ozzy, who's been here for so long, I thought he came with the building, but you know, who can charm any person. I don't care what mood you're in. You come in here, you're going to leave with a smile on your face after dealing with Ozzy. To our new guys, Marshall, who's a great new manager, running the floor, builds relationships, knows how to communicate well. What else we got? Arthur, who comes from us from the old background of Ralph Lauren and knows the people I like, all the chefs and the restaurant people, and likes to watch good movies. It's just there are so many different people that have come through here. And you got office managers from way back when we had Harold Ossendorf, who ran the finances and the accounts receivable and made sure people were straight, to Charlotte, Miss Charlotte, who was scary when she was talking to customers trying to collect money. She was scared me, but she loved me.
Did you ever run the phones on collection?
No, I did not have to.
I had to run the phones on collection a couple of times. It's awful.
I didn't want to have to sit in the room with Charlotte. I loved Charlotte, but she was scary.
Honestly, all of them except Miss Carol scared me. Miss Vicky, who I worked with, I could never use that adding machine. Remember that adding machine? And I thought she was the most elegant person in demeanor I had ever met, but she terrified me.
Oh yeah, I was growing up. You had Carol. Carol, I loved Carol. Carol was there. She was always making me laugh.
She was so fun.
But she was also, she knew everything about everybody, all the salespeople, what they did, how they did it. She was critical. Yeah, she was critical in my knowledge of who was what and who did what. And Miss Vicky, out of Lakeside, she was detail oriented, and she was a tad intimidating. She did not take any gruff. I couldn't BS her. I couldn't pull the wool over her eyes. Nothing. She knew exactly. I could walk at the desk. She already knew. She knew it all. I didn't tell her anything. We had trying to think of the older people that we had that worked in the office. How I can forget Gina, who worked for us forever, who passed away. We miss her. She was, she was a detail person, definitely. She was the kind of person I would have to actually say, don't worry about the penny. Just close the book on that one. But she was a person who, didn't know the job she took over, but she wrote down. She had the best notes. She detailed every step of everything she had to do. So, unfortunately, when she passed away, it was there. We had no problem stepping right into the role, whoever I put in there, because it was so detailed and written down so well. And Lydia, I remember Lydia, who she was in charge of the inventory, and she did not gotten to any errors in inventory. If that wasn't off, she grilled you until she figured out what was wrong and fixed it. And of course, I could never forget Renee, who worked for us forever.
Auntie Renee.
Yeah, Auntie Renee. Renee was, the mayor of he was the what do we call him? The mayor of St. Charles. He would be across the street at the Pearl every day. He had his chair. They actually had a plaque on it for him. And he would meet people. Every day somebody would come in the store, ask Renee. I met him last night. We were odd. They had to come in. Renee was the coolest, nicest person. Probably also, in sideways, responsible for my first child, which involved alcohol, and he made me drink too much. Made poor decisions. That was Renee. But always could count on him to push you that extra step. But he was so fun. He was great, and it was sad when we lost Renee. So, but boy, did he! I'm telling you, people. He had no morals, but that's a whole other story. but he.
They were just different morals than yours.
Yes, that's right. There were different morals, and I always laughed. Said something about this. He told me the story about.
The word you're looking for is slut.
Yes. I remember telling me.
Don't worry, I'll cut that.
I went. This couple. I said, "Oh yeah." I went home with both of them. I'm like, I thought you were gay. He goes, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But yeah, he was always so much fun.
He was. I miss him too.
We still have customers who come in and ask about Renee.
Yeah.
Miss Renee. I used to shop with Renee.
Yeah.
That was everything. So.
Is there any other story? And again, I'll be here Monday and Tuesday, so
Yeah.
if you later think to yourself, I wish I told her this,
Yeah.
I'm here. But right now, is there anything where I don't know whether it's about Paul Vrisco, who I really should add to my next trip list.
Yeah.
I gotta add Paul. I wanna talk to Mark probably over Zoom.
Yeah.
And Kim Herring.
Mark's retiring.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
he's at
are they-
Andreessen Morton up in Denver, one of our forum stores. And yeah, it's one thing Lindsay and I at Andreessen Morton we get to complain about Mark together. We both love Mark, but we know his idiosyncrasies now together. But any other stories? I mean, I got stories like about shoplifting and things like that, but I don't know if those are bad. I mean, like our jean shops, we used to always have problems in the jean shops, and I remember the thing that sticks out to me the most was the time we had a security code. It was 96, 99. 96 meant you suspected someone was shoplifting. 99 meant you saw someone, and the code would go to loudspeaker, and we got 99 for the jean shop, and the manager would go lock the front door. And then I would come through the back door, and then I'd approach the subject and say, "Excuse me, sir, I think you have something, And this guy approached him, and I said, "Sir," he had basically put on a pair of jeans and then put a pair of jeans over that, so he was wearing them underneath. And I said, "Sir, I think you have an extra pair of jeans on. Would you mind, stepping back in the dressing room?" And he bolted, took off, ran straight to the front door, full speed, shattered the glass, and knocked himself out cold. And I was like, okay, well, now we'll take the jeans off. Or the guy that stole from us ran out, and against better judgment, I'm going to state that now for my wife's benefit, we did follow, or some would call it chase after him, and we blocked him in, and he went into the parking lot on Iberville behind Mr. B's, and he tried to jump on the man carrier thing, and he missed, and he got wedged in there, broke his leg. They'd call an ambulance, bring him up there, and
Couldn't sell those jeans.
no, and I just remember my manager down at the jean shop got interviewed about it, and he said, "Yeah, well, if you steal from us, we'll break your legs," which I did scold him for that, but it was very funny. So,
Were you scared the first time you approached a shoplifter that way?
I mean, you're nervous, just the same as you're nervous in disciplining somebody and stuff like that, because you don't know how they'll react. But I have never encountered a shoplifter with a weapon or that generally got physical besides pushing or something like that. Because it's essentially a misdemeanor, and they'll get out the next day and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not wise to usually chase a guy anyway. It's not that important. It's only merchandise. So, but yeah, we've had our share of interesting. I remember, well, it's not for recording, but the lady who tried to accuse me of telling a police officer. She was this side, had her on the ground, and the police officer was there and told her to sit. She said, "He was molesting me. He was feeling me up. He was trying to grab that." And I remember the police officer turned around, "Shut your goddamn mouth. We'll deal with you later." And that was the only thing. But she kept trying to accuse me of that. And I'm like, all I did was sit on her. That's all which of course these days would be bad. We told her, yeah, in the French court. But she wouldn't stay still. Sitting on her was the only way I can keep her still. But yeah, I've done things that I see these things in the news these days, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I would be in serious trouble for that now. But
Indeed.
but I don't do that anymore, so that's good.
That's smart.
Actually, we don't really have a serious shoplifting problem anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it happens. I know we're missing merchandise, so it definitely happens. But yeah, and even some of the ones that happen, nowadays, you kind of confront them and they just drop the stuff and take off. So.
Even shoplifters these days have no work ethic.
Yeah, exactly. You don't try that hard. But I don't know, I'm sure there's other stories that may pop up at a later date, but.
And I may come because I may think of something too, but
Yeah.
But that's really helpful. That's really good.
Yeah.